Hi guys, so the next disorder that I'm going to be talking about, or illness, is Down syndrome. And Down syndrome occurs in 1 in 800 newborns, and about 5,300 babies are born in the United States with Down syndrome each year. And approximately 200,000 people in this country have the condition. Although women of any age could have a child with Down syndrome, the chances of having a child with this condition increases as women get older. That is kind of a stigma, but it's not the only cause for Down syndrome. Down syndrome is a chromosomal condition that is associated with intellectual disability, and some characteristics that go along with people who have Down syndrome are facial appearance, weak muscle tone in infancy. That's kind of something that is a way for people to diagnose Down syndrome early in infancy. And all affected individuals experience cognitive delays, but the intellectual disability is usually mild to moderate. Individuals with Down syndrome have an increased risk of developing several medical conditions. Delayed development and behavioral problems are often reported in children with Down syndrome. People with Down syndrome often experience a gradual decline in thinking ability as they age, which usually starts around 50. Most cases of Down syndrome results from trisomy 23, which means each cell in the body has 3 copies of chromosome 21. Instead, there's usually two copies. People with Down syndrome don't typically live as long as people who don't have Down syndrome, and it is a very visible disability that people can notice when just walking down the street, just due to their different facial features, and they're typically a lot shorter than a normal human being, and they definitely have different mannerisms. A lot of Down syndrome, people affected with Down syndrome take to it differently, and things affect them differently, and they definitely can have behavioral outbursts as well that go along with the disability, because it's hard for them to communicate sometimes, and their emotions are different, and they take things differently, and that is kind of another sign of Down syndrome. Most people with Down syndrome have a hard time living alone, just due to the different physical things that they need, the understanding part of life as well, and